You like that intro? Or
Yeah, I do.
yeah, okay, cool.
I got pumped up there.
Welcome everyone to Sysco Canada's virtual live show, kitchen show. We are like I'm excited to have this guest that we see right here beside me. Obviously, in 3,000 kilometers away from each other, unfortunately. But Oren, thanks again for today's show. You are the COO Co-Founder of Kitchen Hub, Ghost Kitchen concept out of Toronto. Thank you for being on our show today.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Well, I got to pull a little banner up here because you got to check out their website. First of all, outstanding website. I got this weird thing happening with my green screen today too, so I apologize. But we have some questions for you regarding ghost kitchens, and you guys are the pros at this. I think you are. I interviewed you. Like, do you remember when we first met? It was before COVID-19. It was like the week before the world shut down. So now we get to chat. We chatted at the beginning of COVID, and then to hear where you are today, we'd like to talk a little bit about that. You know, what you guys are doing today. And then I have a few questions here around ghost kitchens and what people can do to have a ghost kitchen or transform their restaurant into a ghost kitchen. But thanks again. Like, this is just outstanding to have you on our show today.
I'm very excited to be here.
And I think this is our first show. This is our 61st virtual kitchen show. Second of all, I believe today is our first show on LinkedIn Live. So thank you, LinkedIn, for throwing us up on there. But today we are shooting on LinkedIn Live, YouTube, as well as Facebook. So we're streaming out there to the most important places, I think, that you need to be. But and let's talk a little bit about ghost kitchens. So what's the difference between a ghost kitchen and a restaurant that does takeout?
So a ghost kitchen. So I think it'd be helpful actually to talk about some of the different terms that have been thrown around.
Yeah, let's get there.
You've got ghost kitchen. You've got virtual food hall, which is what we like to call ourselves. You've got virtual restaurant. So a ghost kitchen, in our view, is a kitchen that is set up to do delivery and takeout predominantly on online channels. It doesn't have a storefront and is pretty much set up for delivery. A virtual restaurant is a restaurant that can exist in an existing restaurant. It's almost like another brand that's been spun up to run out of an existing kitchen. And then a virtual food hall, that's a facility that houses multiple ghost kitchens. So you may have, 3, 4, 5 different kitchens with different restaurant groups that have essentially launched their brands on online channels only within the facility.
Wow. There's a lot of different kinds out there, right? Is this all because of COVID, or this was happening before?
Yeah, so this has been happening for the past couple of years. We see a lot of examples of the different models that probably started 2 to 3 years ago with the proliferation of all these third-party delivery apps and this ability to be an online-only restaurant. In Canada, I think Uber has a virtual restaurant program. It's got thousands of virtual restaurants. You may not even know that a restaurant you're ordering from on Uber Eats is a virtual restaurant. This has been happening for some time. And the pure play delivery-only model or ghost kitchen model is now starting to become more prominent with the growth of these delivery apps.
Yeah, so most places are looking at this as another revenue stream, or is they're dropping the business model they have now and then moving to this? Do you see that happen?
Yeah, so with COVID, I think a lot of things have been happening. Pre-COVID, what we saw was restaurants were pursuing their traditional models, and then they were starting to look into different ways to pursue online business. One way was just to add delivery through a third-party platform. The other way was to look into facilities like ours. Like, we launched before COVID, and we had 3 existing great brands expand out to the Etobicoke market just outside of downtown Toronto. Before COVID, as a way to expand and to tackle this new channel as a new means of revenue and a way to grow and expand without a lot of upfront cost and the risk associated with opening a new full-blown dine-in restaurant. Now with COVID, it's that has accelerated, and some are starting to think about throwing out the model. Others are thinking about, okay, maybe I have a ghost kitchen channel, and maybe I have a new model which I'm adapting my restaurant to. So there's still dine-in, there's just less, and then there's more of a focus on takeout and more of a focus on delivery, and that's kind of where we're seeing the different restaurants go. Is they're trying to say, okay, well, I have my existing spaces, how can I adapt those? And then the ones that aren't going to make it because the real estate is too expensive or because they have too many seats, is there another model? Because I know this area wants my product.
Yeah, and that wow, there's lots to talk about here because is there specific? So if I'm in a restaurant and let's say we're in other parts of the country, maybe out west here, is there anything that I need to know when I'm looking for a location to put a ghost kitchen or a virtual kitchen?
Yeah, so I'd say like when you're looking at pure play ghost kitchen. So when I say pure play, I mean you are looking delivery and takeout first. You're looking online first for that location. You don't need necessarily to be at the best real estate. You don't need to be at the corner of Main and Main. You have an opportunity to get some off-center real estate. That being said, you're going into a model where you're reliant on building your brand and building your awareness without having that street corner. And so you have to consider marketing and the cost of marketing associated with that as well. You're going into a model which has a very high cost, which you didn't have in your previous traditional model. You've got the delivery cost, and the delivery cost, we hear often that the 30% cost is too high to make it work. Well, that's why we kind of built our model the way we did with shared space and a shared front of house. It allows restaurants to think about ghost kitchens and do them and pursue them in a way where they can earn profits that they're used to. They can earn that profit that they were earning in a traditional setting because we provide the shared services. So they're essentially what we've done is turn the economic model on its head and say, okay, the 30% delivery cost is expensive. Where are ways that restaurants can save if we put them all in the same facility?
And that savings got to be quite a bit, right? Because I hear that all the time about this 30% on delivery apps.
Yeah,
it's got to be quite a bit of savings.
So, having a shared space, not having the upfront cost. A lot of restaurants often don't think about the upfront cost about building the restaurant when they think about their model. But the fact of the matter is, it costs $300 or $500 or up to $1 million to build a restaurant, and that cost is not the same. It's a fraction in a model like ours. And so when you incorporate that in, and you think about, okay, I don't need a front of house, I don't need a GM, I don't need the facility management. Now I have this opportunity where all I have to worry about is the food cost, the back of house staff cost, and by back of house I really mean cooking and prep, and the marketing costs associated with doing business online.
So does your marketing cost, obviously it's going to be a little larger, or would it be the same as a restaurant's marketing budget?
So it depends. So some restaurants, their entire marketing budget is spent on is actually just their real estate cost, right? They got a great corner, they put a great sign up, they built a beautiful room. That was what they considered their marketing cost. Other restaurants, larger groups, typically spend 3 to 5, 6% of marketing. And I think with digital, you have to think about a marketing cost. That being said, baked into that delivery cost of working with a third-party delivery company, you have marketing, right? You have an opportunity to get to the top of the app. You can work with them to be a part of different promotions. Sometimes they'll offer that to you just by virtue of being on their platform. And so there's a lot of ways to do marketing. You have to have a budget for it. but you're also paying a little bit for that in that 30% delivery cost as well.
Yeah, and I believe that I think it was Uber Eats is coming out with a program up here in Canada. I've seen it in the States, and they've told me that they're going to launch this at the end of September. But it is a marketing program to help restaurants market through the winter and through the fall, and probably continue with it. But you're absolutely right. There is ways that, and I also think I want to talk a little bit about these apps and stuff, because I just want your input, because you're in this world all the time. Do you believe, like, how competitive is this app thing when we look at the menus on there? Because I can see a multiple different amount of restaurants in 30 seconds. What are those hooks? Is there any hooks or anything to grab people's interest to buy that food? I think photos seems to be important on these apps.
Yeah. So
any tips there?
Absolutely. So we wrote an article in Restaurants Canada Menu Magazine, kind of 5 tips for standing out on and doing digital business in the restaurant world. One of the most important things you can have is great photos, and people often underestimate that. And I think we're still, if you go on the apps today, we still see a lot of restaurants which haven't really invested the money, and to do it right, it can be quite expensive, but that pays off in multitudes, because what is your hook to getting the customer in? There are thousands of restaurants, hundreds that sit on that page. Your best hook is really that photo. The other piece is making sure that you have placement, right? So when the user comes on Uber Eats or DoorDash or Skip the Dishes, and they search for burgers and your burger place, do you come up as one of the first 10 restaurants? And how can you make it so that you come up as one of those first 10 restaurants? The apps are starting to allow us ways to pay for play, much in the same way that you see on Amazon or any other digital marketplace. These opportunities are starting to come out, and that's the restaurants who are smart and are thinking about the future and are thinking about building digital brands. They're thinking about these types of things.
Yeah, well, because I look on them and I get hooked into some that have great photos, great images, and then I also notice a lot of them aren't adjusting their menu as much as I feel they should be, is changing it up all the time. Because I think as we shift to more of this through the fall and winters, do you think restaurants should be changing those menus up on those online parties and on their online menus more frequently?
I think that the ease of putting a new product online is so it is so much easier than it ever was to change a menu item or add a new menu item. And so it behooves restaurants to start thinking that way. Can I add a new feature item? Can I test out a new concept? Can I test out, can I test out a new whole category? If you're getting the eyeball, it's incumbent upon you to turn that click into an order. And so, and now you're starting to get the information where the Uber Eats, for example, they're showing you your conversion data. So they're showing you how many times that you're served up to customers, how many times they're clicking into you, how many times they're actually ordering. And you can start to play with new items in order to increase those numbers, right? So definitely, restaurants have done this all the time anyway, right? They do it on Thanksgiving, they have a Thanksgiving special, or Christmas dinners and that kind of thing. You have so much room to play on these apps and you can do it in seconds.
Yeah, and that's you're exactly what I wanted to get out there in that message, is the flexibility and the ability to create some interest on a regular basis. And I know today getting regular people to come back to your ordering online, I wasn't going to say come back to restaurants, but just ordering on from your restaurant on your products is very difficult, because everyone wants to try different things and try different restaurants. It's all at the click of the thumb. Mm-hmm. That if you can create that interest in your restaurant, they're going to be checking you out just to see what's new all the time. And if you got great ideas and great food, I think it's going to help increase your business.
Absolutely. Like limited time offers and seasonal offerings, and new products. Maybe it's products that aren't part of the restaurant, but that people would benefit from. when they're already going through the process of getting something delivered. So maybe it's taking your sauces and bottling them. There are a lot of things that you can do to generate interest, to keep the customer, and to offer, and to also build your basket size that you probably wouldn't have done in dine-in.
No, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. Basket size and stuff like, is that more of the offerings within, like we've seen some operations, you can buy some food that you'd eat and then you can cook some later on, products half cooked. Like there's a variety of different things you can offer within that basket of goods. So it increases the dollar amount, I'm assuming, in your orders. Do you see that a lot, or do you see people, because we're going into the fall and winter, we're getting into a very, I don't know what the word is, but it's dining with people fall season, right? We got Thanksgiving, we got Remembrance Day, we got Christmas, we got a lot of events coming up, parties that are going to be maybe virtually in a sense or small within their cohort groups. Is there things that we can do to cater to that?
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point. We are seeing these parties where people are trying to order, the same food because they're having a virtual party and they want to eat together. And so we've seen a few instances of this where a restaurant has come up and said, and put on their menu an opportunity kind of to, like, they almost positioned it as a way to have a dinner together apart, right? So everyone gets the same thing. So there are like lots of different things you can do. And in terms of basket size building, really great restaurants, if you look on these apps, what they do is they give consumers a lot of options once they've added an item. So the customizability of a burger. You go onto an app and you can order a Works burger, for example, and it's got everything on it. Or you can order the original. What some of the great burger places have done is that when you go into the original, they've given you all the options from the Works, and they've charged for them, right? And they've added the egg and the double smoked back bacon and you name it. And by the end, the consumer's getting a product that they really enjoy, and that basket size has increased beyond the original priced burger. So kind of like offering a low headline cost than the $8 burger, but then offering ways to turn the $8 burger into a $15 burger.
Yeah, there is some tactics there. There's definitely some tactics to increase that bill size, right? Yeah.
That also helps with the economic model as well, because that average basket size helps your profitability in the long run, right? And it also helps your chance with the apps, which like to do bigger orders because they're working on a commission.
Yeah, they are. Now, that's a good point as well. Do you see? I don't want to talk too much more about this because I could talk all day about this area, but I want more about ghost kitchens, and virtual kitchens. I do want to just. What do you think that when we go into the fall and winter in here? Do you think more restaurants will use third-party app companies or do their own thing? Which way do you think is going to swing here?
So it's interesting.
Okay.
We think that the smartest way to go about things is to develop an omni-channel strategy. Don't tie yourself to one app, and don't tie yourself to only apps. Be on all the apps. Create your own online channel. If you can get your own app and you have the resources for that, do your own app. There are technology companies out there providing white label solutions for that. And it can make sense to look into your own delivery, but by and large, our thinking on this is develop all the channels for the consumer and then push to the delivery apps, because delivery is very difficult as it is, and the cost of it is immense. And a lot of restaurants that we've talked to that have tried their own delivery have eventually stopped because the amount of volume you need to make the economics work and to be able to bring on drivers is quite challenging. Yeah. Domino's does it great, but they built their model on that and have been around for 50 years. But to do it yourself is challenging. What we do ourselves and what we recommend our restaurants do is get on all the apps, sell on your website, do your own app if you can, sell through the Kitchen Hub platform, which allows customers to get food from all of the different brands within our facility. And that gives people the ultimate amount of choice. It gives the people the chance to order in the way that they're comfortable. Offer phone orders as well.
Yeah. I know I've noticed that recently that's coming back a little bit as well, is having a voice when you call in.
What's interesting is pre-COVID, 40% of off-premises sales occurred through phone orders.
Serious?
40%. And, at the time, everybody was talking about the apps, but they were doing, I think at the time, they were doing 33% of off-premises. So phone was actually bigger. And there are still a subset of customers, a big subset of customers that prefer the phone. And we see it in our own facility. So we offer that service, and we've seen the benefit of that as well.
You know what? That's a really good point. I think for a lot of our operators that are like, I don't know about this app stuff, is that you can still throw your phone numbers out there and promote through your phone and get people to call in. That's a really good point, because a lot of people think you have to adjust all over to these apps and have an online presence, but just a phone call. And I've seen it, and I've heard it. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a really good point for people to not forget the phone's still got a little power there to do. And you know what? I have to remember this one idea is that I know we're not supposed to drive, and so obviously we don't want to drive and talk on a phone, but you still have hands-free and all that. But people used to put, those change your oil stickers in the corner of your window? They used to give out those stickers to people when you get your order. They get a sticker, and you can stick on your windshield. So when you're driving home or you're driving, it's a reminder, I can order from Jay's place or whatever. Huh. And it's up there, and it's got the number, just the phone number and the name. Obviously, it could say pizza place, whatever, right? And it's those little gas stickers. And they were up in the. Have you ever heard of that? Did I give you an idea finally?
You did. You gave me something to think about. I'm thinking about what does the 2020 version of that look like with QR codes and with asking Siri. The other day, I went to McDonald's and I got a coffee, and I through the app I ordered it, and it offered me the ability to program it into Siri, so that I could program Siri to just say order McDonald's, and it would order my coffee the way I like it.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. This is 2020.
Yeah.
Thanks for making me feel old. Anyways, let's talk more about ghost kitchens. And thanks again. This is just outstanding information for our industry and for our customers out there. So is it hard to staff ghost kitchens? Is it hard to do this?
I don't think it's any more difficult to staff a ghost kitchen than it is to staff a regular dine-in restaurant. Right now is actually an easier time, I think, because there's a lot of people on the market for jobs, and so you just get a lot of applications, more than you're used to, and people showing up at a higher rates for the interview than they would before. And we've seen that ourselves. But there is something interesting in the virtual food hall and in Kitchen Hub that I don't think we see in many other places, and that is because we have multiple brands, multiple kitchens, each with their own staff. We've been able to create a community of like-minded people. And so like-minded people being cooks and chefs, all working for their respective kitchens, who befriend each other and give each other ideas. And all of a sudden we start to see these collaborations, come to play. Like we had the other week, a couple people from two different kitchens created a Vietnamese noodle soup with a 10-hour Southern smoked brisket, right? And that kind of stuff happens all the time. So there's a little bit of this camaraderie happening in the space. And then on the other side of things, as we've asked all the staff, what do you like about working here? What don't you like? What seems to be a common element is they like the fact that they don't have to deal with the bustling kitchen, the waiters coming in and and
Yeah.
bugging them for a certain dish because table 32 has been waiting for it. They like the fact that they can focus on the food, do their jobs, make the food on the chit, get it in the package, and get it out the door without any of those, external disruptions.
You know what? I've heard that even in some people saying that the takeout, when they're running a ghost kitchen model, the quality of food is through the roof, just because of those factors, right? They're a little more attention and focus than having the waiter come in. Yeah,
absolutely, and we see it in our ratings all the time, and we see it in our speed. By virtue of focusing on the takeout and delivery alone, the quality of the food that comes out and the speed with which it comes out is just better than if there's a competing channel like dine-in.
So speed must be a factor. You must be so more efficient in speed on getting food out than a restaurant that's got a dine-in and a takeout program.
Yeah, I mean, the more revenue channels you have, the more they're going to compete with each other for the same resource.
Yeah.
And when you have a dine-in customer, and even a walk-in customer for takeout, it's much harder to not serve them as quick as possible because they're there, they're waiting. You see them, they ask about their food. You got to get them their food quick, and sometimes the delivery order can get pushed back because of that. Yeah. So without that channel in place, we're able to just focus on the delivery, and so that just results in faster product. Not to mention all of the innovation we do around menu items and efficient ways of packaging and efficient ways of getting from point A to point B, and how do we hand the orders out to the drivers and the customers in a way that is quick and efficient yet also polite. We're thinking about this model from soup to nuts about how to get the orders out as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. And that's just not something that you're doing typically in a dine-in restaurant.
No, you're not. There's so many different factors, and that would increase your labor because you have to have more people to make those decisions, right? And you did bring up, funny you say that earlier, is that front of the house manager or front of the house lead. You don't have to have those people on there, and then the amount. So that must reduce your labor costs quite substantially in that model.
Yeah. So in a shared model like ours, and So what we've designed is the ability for the restaurant to just have cooks and a kitchen manager in there, and so all that front of house cost is not a part of the economic model for them, and so that works really well, and that's one of the reasons why our partners are achieving really healthy results. In the straight ghost kitchen model, we're not exactly sure how that plays out because you still need somebody to interface with the drivers, and we do takeout as well. So you need somebody to interface with the customers. And so what we think about all the time is how do we serve the drivers and how do we serve the customers, and how do we do that for all of these different restaurants at the same time in order to make their model work.
Yeah, very interesting though, and very good when we talk about the cost, because that labor is very difficult nowadays to deal with within the equations of our business models, right? It is something that, and then also you have staffing and problems that come with that, right? That you're out of control in today's world. I've heard a lot of locations having to close because of the server coming in with they're sick or whatever the case is. There's so many things you need to be aware of. So very good on the labor thing. I'm glad you brought those points up. Very good. Very good. So let's talk about a little bit some of the things that are the challenges of Ghost Kitchen, because it sounds great. And I do have a lot of people asking questions here on the comments on LinkedIn. First of all, before we get into the challenges, can you just share what your operation looks like? There's a great question here. What does this look like? Does it look like a food court, or what does your operations look like?
Yeah, the best way to picture it is kind of like a food court, without individual storefronts. So you picture all the kitchens of the food court organized around essentially a warehouse or a rectangular facility with one storefront that serves the front of the house. each kitchen is individual. They have their own space. There are some shared elements like shared storage, shared dry and cold storage, shared bathrooms, but everybody's got their own dishwashing, their own kitchen, and is operating essentially on their own.
Now, you share the same freezers, right? You said it's dry storage and stuff like that. Everything's shared in those manners?
In this facility, yes, and it's shared but caged off.
Okay.
In a future facility, we may have a combination.
Okay, that makes sense.
So everybody's got their line fridges and has uprights like in their kitchen, so that for service they're not running back and forth to cold storage that's far away. Everything is in place for service.
Yeah. So you're talking about huge cost savings just there, right? Like huge.
Absolutely.
Very efficient. We talk about efficiencies. The efficiencies are through the roof then, because that freezer is supplying so many different locations. Your cost to have a one freezer, even if it is having to be a little bit bigger, is going to be way more effective because freezers are not cheap to run. They're pretty big, right? Great points. So let's get back into the challenges. What are some of the challenges that you've had to kind of overcome and kind of had to deal with?
So
not COVID related though. Can't use that one.
That's not COVID related. Okay, because the COVID related one is COVID,
exactly.
and the changes that come every day and makes it hard to plan for your business. Next week, let alone next month, let alone 6 months from now.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think we're all facing that same thing. For Ghost Kitchen and virtual food halls, the biggest challenge I think that we face is we work with a lot of parties, a lot of different parties and third parties to deliver the revenue channel, and they're evolving every day. We consider ourselves in this industry, kind of in the first inning, that is being digital and online restaurants, and so there's a multitude of challenges that we face, from getting the right systems in place to getting them to talk to each other so that, we can have one way to receive orders on chits that all look the same. We find that for restaurants, it's finding ways to communicate with the customer directly and drive them to their order page, whether it's the order page on DoorDash or it's the order page on their own website. They're creating a new way of communicating with customers that they haven't before. So that's a challenge that we face every day. And the tools that are available, they are kind of few and far between. We have tools. There are new ones coming out every day. Like Uber just announced that they're expanding their ad technology. DoorDash is just the same. That helps. But all of this changes all the time. And then one of the biggest challenges really, and it's so funny, it's sometimes one of your partners, third-party delivery apps, will make a change, and that change will break your whole system. And that day you're working on fixing your system. And so, there's just like all these different, they're all small and they're all things that are being worked on, and they're all things that are going to get there, that make it challenging, but also very fun to operate because every day is completely different.
But it's definitely, I'm not going to say minor, but it is something that you're having to, that's your reality now, is the technology side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every industry is getting disrupted by technology, and it's because the consumer is voting for convenience, and they're voting to use technology as the main means with which they interact with the world and with which they interact with businesses. And so we have to develop these systems. We have to go through these challenges to get to the place where we're able to provide a service that's levels above what the consumer is used to today.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Disruption with technology is everywhere.
Absolutely.
So I have a couple more here to wrap up because we want to take all your time, and just thanks again for doing this today. This has been tons of valuable information. So one of the things that we're talking about as we see less, I wouldn't say demand in restaurants in the core centers of these larger cities, we see more people not leaving their homes now that are in the rural settings or in the suburbs. Are you able in these models to have a ghost kitchen or a virtual food hall or ghost hall? All different terminology. Can you have them in the rural settings? Can they be in suburbs?
So I think that wherever there is a third-party delivery company, it opens up this model today. Not to say that if there isn't a third-party delivery company in a certain area, you couldn't build a digital and online restaurant. You just have to do things a little differently, like maybe offer your own delivery. But let's talk within the third-party delivery world.
Okay.
In a rural setting, one of the biggest challenges on the consumer side is typically supply of choice, right? There's just less choices, and so there's a really unique opportunity for enterprising people in the rural setting to be able to offer more choice through virtual and digital brands. So as I thought about this question, that really came up, that the opportunity for a virtual restaurant, you have an existing staff, you have an existing kitchen, you likely have ingredients that can work for multiple different cuisine types. Now you have an opportunity to offer the consumer more choice, and they won't even necessarily realize that it's coming from your kitchen. So the opportunity is really endless in the virtual restaurant game in more rural settings. You also have the consumer now that has gone more to online, and you have consumers that are moving from the urban centers, which are used to using these platforms, which are coming in as well. So it sounds like there's a tide. It feels like there's almost a tide moving in that rural direction. I think there's an opportunity to capitalize.
Yeah, and you know what I have seen recently, and we do have it here in Alberta, where there is actually, you've got pretty much like the rural setting of Uber Eats and Skip the Dishes and those and Grubhub and those guys. There's actually companies now that are doing it in the rural setting, right? So it's just probably a little bit more money, but if you're getting delivery in a country or on an acreage, you might pay a little bit more, but wow, like that could be kind of
and here's the thing, you may not need to pay more, because if one kitchen can support 3 brands, each of those 3 brands doesn't necessarily need to make the same kind of sales that they would if it was pure play, right? If it was one brand to one kitchen and one staff. So now you have the opportunity to offer, brands that wouldn't have come out to those areas, because they can come out in a ghost kitchen type setting.
That's a really good point too. You're able to really expand your offerings then. Huge. That's really, really good point. So is it better to have it's obviously better than to have multiple brands under one umbrella then for those purposes.
Can you rephrase?
Can you rephrase? so polite. It's better to have multiple different restaurant brands under one umbrella than it is just to say I'm just one brand.
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily say that as a hard and fast rule.
Okay.
If you have one really great brand that's doing really great sales and you are already at capacity, then it doesn't make sense to open another brand. But if you have excess capacity and you can do another brand well, it makes a lot of sense because of all the shared costs that you can benefit from. You've already got the staff, you've already got the equipment. Those are the biggest costs. And it doesn't cost that much more to get to capacity.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense from like the business and economics side. And from the like, I guess, revenue side or consumer end, if you're able to offer more choice, then yes, the answer is yes, it makes more sense, but you have to be able to do it in a way that you're still offering quality. You cannot come up with a brand and just say, okay, well, it's super easy for me to take out a TV dinner and reheat it. You may get the customer to order once. Fool me twice.
Yeah.
What's the saying, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm not going to attempt it. I might screw it up. And, hey, I know what you're talking about, though. It's funny because we go back, 50, 60 years ago, we had the milk guy, and they were delivering milk to your door all the time. And I think some areas they still do that. But we saw that evolve, and seeing today of how ghost kitchens and virtual halls and all these different things, it's really creating a whole new experience for people. It's unbelievable. And I want to finish this off because this is a question that I've always kind of stumbled on and I come across quite a bit is, how do you create, because it's an experience economy, we hear all this, or maybe that's even adjusted since COVID, but do you believe that you still can create an experience that people will come back to you within using ghost kitchens and delivery? Do you believe experiences will continue to thrive and people will still continue to push the creative area in this field?
Absolutely. So I think if you would have asked me a few months ago, I would have said the restaurants are going in two directions. They're going meal focused and they're going experience focused. And experience focused is all dine-in, and meal focused is going to be all takeout and delivery. And that was a very extreme view, but it's one that I still think holds true. But there is some gray. So what we've seen through COVID, because people are craving experience, they're craving a way to take their minds off of things, and they're looking to delivery and takeout for new eating occasions, like a birthday. Experiences are restaurants and other food providers on these apps are starting to offer experiences. I can think of a dessert brand doing a birthday kit. I can think of the number one restaurant in the country that's offering a takeout price fix meal. So, three courses, and they tell you exactly what to do, right? You get instructions of how to reheat it and instructions of how to plate it and all of that, and it becomes an experience. I can think of the meal kits, right? So there's no question that experiences are part of this, and we're going to continue to see that because I think people still, dine-in is going to come back. People are going to go eat in restaurants. We crave social experiences. We crave being together. But in the meantime, while we're home, we need to fill time, and we're going to develop new behaviors. And now it'll be a little bit more of a decision as to whether I go out or maybe make a meal kit at home today, because it's kind of fun to make a meal kit from our favorite Italian restaurant in the city.
Yeah. You know what? I've seen surprise meals too. So you just order, it's a fixed price, like you said, and then you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And it's a surprise, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things you can do with this. And I totally agree. The experiences, it's a whole new world for a lot of people. And I know for younger generations, I think they're craving that doorbell or the knock on the door and that whole process of ordering online, and very, very trendy.
It's kind of exciting, right? Like you're getting a package delivered to you. And I don't know one person who doesn't love getting a package delivered to them, whatever the package is, whether it's food or, your Amazon order or a gift from your aunt, right? Like something comes to the door and there's something exciting about that. Funny enough, I still get excited checking my snail mail. Like maybe there'll be something in there that's exciting. I don't know. It rarely is. It's usually just bills. Once in a while, there's something.
We have a good comment here from John. And thanks, John, for your comment here regarding the food as the experience. And I fully agree with you on that as well. And that's why I think we're seeing people that are doing takeout and doing these ghost kitchens, that their attention to the food is creating such a great I'm having amazing experiences with the food quality and just the ideas that are coming through ghost kitchens and takeout. It's incredible. So I fully agree with you on that. And then he also put on here, ordering food online is like a video game. Yes, there's absolutely that factor put into it. Fully agree. Awesome stuff. But anyways, we have to wrap up. Oren, just thank you so much. We met back at the Restaurants Canada show a week or two before COVID shut down the world. And it's been an absolute pleasure knowing you. And just thank you so much for being on our show today. You brought so much information to our customers and to the industry in Canada, and also from France and all the other people that have also commented where they are across the world today watching us. So just outstanding. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great talk and great since we met. Who could have imagined that we'd be here where we are today?
I know. I trust me. I go back and think, wow, it's been 6 months, but it's been an interesting 6 months. We've learned a lot. So you can check out Oren's site at kitchenhub.ca. It's on the bottom there. Check it out. You can see what they're doing and see the amazing ideas that they have. And it's just awesome. So everyone else, check us out on our virtual kitchen show. We're going to bring more guests throughout. I don't know. We're not going to stop. I got 100 and some shows coming up. We're also starting a late night show starting September 16th with the Grill Dads from the Food Network. They're going to be on our show. And we're going to continuously bring information live to you, not recorded. And there's no sign up and all that webinar stuff. Just jump on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube and watch us live. So once again, take care, my friend, and all the best to you.
Thank you. Take care.